Next, we have a NYX palette. And again, I do not typically grab these. I don't think the shimmers show up that great. And then Buxom palette. The formula of these shadows are actually really nice, but I just don't like the colors. For some reason, it reminds me of like Christmas time. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling the palette. On the Go palette, really nice formula, but something I do not grab for. Then the Physicians Formula. I love this palette. So it was a keeper. All those are really great. Makeup Geek. I can't remember the name of this one, but I love it. I think I bought more than one palette. Then this Urban Decay one. This is one that I wanted to keep just to try out some more of the shadows. This formulation is actually really nice for like their metallic type eyeshadow. On the Rum palette, I absolutely love it. It's something that I do like to travel with, so I kept it. And Tarte Contour palette was a no, as well as the Kat Von D. I like the Kat Von D, but I just feel like I don't really go for all matte looks for the most part. I normally use my Viseart palettes. Then this one was a little broken, but I do love this purple palette by ColourPop. Look at Aaron's face. We were so sad about it, but I still kept it. We just kind of like smushed it back in, tapped off the excess, and bam, good to go. Then we have this palette. I love this. One of my favorite palettes from the summers. And another Too Faced palette, which I actually kept. I really like the formula in this. Then the Marc Jacobs, not one that I kept. I just don't see myself grabbing for it as much. Again, I'm trying to be super duper mindful, and that was a hard one to let go of. Don't really enjoy this Semi-Precious palette from ColourPop, so I decluttered it. And then this was another one that I don't ever see myself reaching for. I love the Modern Renaissance, so it was definitely a keeper in my book. I love all the colors too. And then this one is a random one, but I decluttered it. And then a Pixie Collection one that I also decluttered. Viseart, I believe I actually kept this one. I really like their formula, and I love the warm tones in that. Super Old Anastasia palette. Goodbye. And then this Charlotte Tilbury one I definitely kept. Oh, it looks a little cracked at the bottom, but I did keep it. Then we have another one that I decluttered. Then the I Want Candy by Too Faced, I decluttered. Just not something I grabbed for, but I did actually like the formula in it. Then we have another Morphe palette, and I did just end up getting rid of all of my Morphe palettes. Natural Love palette, it's really big, and I just don't ever grab for it. And then this Lorac one's totally shades that I will not use. Kat Von D, the mini palettes. These are actually really nice, but I've had it for a while, and it's not something I often reach for, so I decided to let it go. The Too Faced Pineapple palette. I love, love, love this one. I definitely kept it. As you can see, I've gotten a lot of use out of that in shade, and I really like the colors in it. And then we have another one from Too Faced, which is super new. Haven't really gotten to try it. Oh, and I just dropped it. But I did want to keep trying it out. So that one's actually a highlight palette. Some of those are kind of mixed in. Urban Decay Naked Cherry was a keeper. Love the formula. Becca Jaclyn Hill was one that actually the formula was kind of messed up on it, and I kept it as like a collector's item, but I decided to let it go. It was time. Kylie Cosmetics, another one I let go. I like the formula, just don't use it. ColourPop. Love this palette, and I love the warmness in this palette. It's such a good one. I just really like all the ColourPop palettes for the most part, besides this one. That collection that came out that Christmas, I just don't like any of the palettes in the formulation. It was 3 palettes, and I decluttered all of them. Jeffree Star, I love this Beauty Killer palette. I don't reach for it a lot, but I love that Courtney shade. As you can see, I went ahead and pointed to it. Lorac Contour palette. I don't actually find myself using contour palettes anymore. That one I decluttered, and then the Pixie one I also decluttered as well. Then we have the Anastasia Soft Glam, which I decided to keep. It's still like a newer palette in my collection. Then the Norvina one I also decided to keep as well. Actually, no, I think I actually decluttered that one. Sorry, you guys. I'm like trying to remember, and I decluttered it. Yep. Okay, Urban Decay. This one I actually loved it, but I just never grabbed for it, so I decluttered it. But it is a really, really nice palette. Some of these palettes, they're not bad. I didn't need to keep them all, just like this one. Nice palette, good formula, but I just needed to rehome it. I just need to like let go and, give it away, just not have it in my collection anymore. I cannot wait to show you guys the end result. Dream Street palette I love, so I decided to keep it. I have my own ColourPop drawer. I do not grab these shades from Sigma. I can't speak, so it had to go, as well as this Viseart. I love Viseart formula, but I just did not need that palette. Then the deck of Scarlet is kind of like an all-in-one. You have blush, contour, lip, eyeshadow, and I decided to declutter it. Then we have the Anastasia contour kit, which had a lot of wear. I decluttered it. I don't know why we showed that twice. And then the Marc Jacobs. Oh my gosh, this was like one of my favorite palettes. But again, things that I always grab for is what I really kept. Makeup Forever, love. Really good shades in there. Okay, next we have Bobbi Brown. This one makes me sick because I think I paid like $200 or $250 for it, but I feel like some of the shades are a little bit cooler, and I always go for warm tone shades, so I needed to let it go. If I wasn't using it, it had to go. So this one was very sadly broken, and I think I decided to declutter it. I did decide. Sorry, you guys, it's late at night. And then we have a Viseart warm eyeshadow palette, and I did keep this one. I wish you guys could see me doing this voiceover because I like keep throwing my hand up in the air like, yes, I kept it. I kept another one from ColourPop. I love that one. This one I actually kept. It's a really nice highlight palette. Really pretty shades. The Sienna palette, I really like it, but it's super bulky and I don't see myself grabbing for it, so I rehomed it. Blue Moon was a keeper. I just like all of the different monochromatic shades by ColourPop. Another one that I decided to keep. I'm like, give it to me. Do not put that anywhere else. The Persona one's actually a really nice formula. I really did enjoy this palette, but it's not something I reach for because it is more cool tone. So I try to get a lot of cool tone eyeshadows out of my collection. This Pure Selfie palette, I love the glitters at the bottom, but not to justify keeping the entire palette because I just don't really like the formula of those eyeshadows. Then we have the Wet collection. I did decide to declutter these because even though I love ColourPop, I don't use those shadows as much. NARS blush palette, I love, like one of my favorites. Then the Melt palettes. Now I actually got these at IMATS and I heard the formula was amazing, but I had had them in my collection for like 6 or 7 months. Never even touched them. So I'm like, Danielle, do you really need this? Because if you really were like wanting to use them, you would have. A Morphe palette, I did not like these colors. It had to go. Okay, this Morphe palette I actually do really like, but I feel like I got a good amount of use out of it and I wanted to rehome it. Then we have a Lorac palette, which I've already discussed. I just don't love their eyeshadow formula, so I actually decluttered both of these palettes as well as the Pro palettes in the previous video. Okay, next we have a NARS palette. We know how I feel about NARS. I absolutely love NARS, so it's super hard for me to let go of NARS palettes, but the colors are really light, and normally I have a self-tanner or I'm like tan, so I decided that it needed to go. Look how hard Aaron had to like pull it out of my hands. The Makeup Forever gold palette I decluttered, and then another Melt palette. Again, nothing wrong with the Melt palettes. It's just I didn't use them in the time that I had them, and I felt like, you know, sometimes doing YouTube, it's like you want to like have new current stuff, and even though I hadn't got any use out of that, I just knew that it could go to a better home than my home, and I just needed to get rid of some stuff, so I let it go. Then we have the Fame and Fortune palettes, a cool tone palette. Love ColourPop, but again, I'm just over cool tone, so it had to go. And then another Kylie Cosmetics palette that I typically don't grab for. You know, it has a lot of really like fun colors in it, but I rehomed it as well as the Sigma palette. This is my all-time favorite ColourPop palette. It's the I Love Sarah E. I swear I bought like 6 of these. This one is like my... Okay, this one's not my favorite. There's one that has like a light eyeshadow. That one I still like. Then the Naked palettes, I did not... Like, I like the formula a little bit, but not as much as I feel like I should to keep it. And it's like half cream, half powder. I just don't grab it. And then the Laura Mercier, I like this, but again, not something that I often reach for. Then we have the Tarteist Pro palette. These shades are really nice, but I did decide to declutter it. You guys, I just had to make some really hard choices. I mean, this was rough. I know it looks easy opening these, but it was rough. Another cool tone palette by Makeup Forever. And then obviously we can see how much use I get out of this one. It got kept. Decluttered the Naked palette, and then also the Balm Cosmetics. Then we have the ColourPop highlight palette, which I ended up keeping. Okay, you guys, that is it for part 2. Part 3 will be up next week, and I love you so much.